So here we come closer to the, let's say, the relationship between permaculture and systemic approach. And in this perspective, is really making a comparison between permaculture, like 6 principles of permaculture, and system structure, as we have modelized it. For example, catch and store energy, we can see that we are talking about the incoming flow. Produce no waste, we are talking about the output flow that we want to reduce because we want to keep, to store energy, to store nutrient, to keep energy. Principle 11, we have use edges and value the marginal, which is really the interface. And inside the box, inside the system, we have elements, or in the vocabulary can be what we call function or function stack, a set of function and with interactions. And we have a principle which is integrate rather than segregate. So we have to add element in the ecosystem to make it more rich and more, let's say, complete, biodiverse in case of natural ecosystem. We have this principle which use and value diversity, so we can see that all these subsystems have beneficial interaction and they can interact one with each other. And here we have use and value renewable resources and services. So we'll come to this idea of renewable energy and resources and the notion of closed loop, which is very important concept in natural ecosystems. So permaculture is a systemic approach specifically defined for natural ecosystems. And more than that, defined as well for integrating human in ecosystems. So the systemic approach that we'll use in permaculture is one that will be, let's say, adapted or forged in a way that the principle of systemic approach will be, let's say, optimized or tailored to improve different step of a process, which final objective is to optimize the ecosystem. Here we see that here are the permaculture principles, and here are, let's say, the steps on domain application in a systemic approach, and that we have, let's say, the link between this different area, which is more here domain application in systemic approach, and here the principle of permaculture, the 6 other, which are more related to process of or methodology of, let's say, a project management point of view. This first part here is really that when humans step in, become an actor in the ecosystem. So we integrate human in the ecosystem, and with the ethic dimension, meaning that the ecosystem includes the human in the food web. We will produce food, not only for ourselves, but as well for the system to support itself. And we will take the responsibility of designing the ecosystem, most part of it, and harvest the food we need, still respecting the biodiversity of the system. And the principle applied to that is that to be designer and harvester, we have to apply self-regulation to make sure that we design a good way. And when we harvest, we harvest in a good way. The second part of this human intervention or domain application in systemic approach is we will improve the ecosystem. So we step in, now we'll really improve it, and we'll do design with a physical part. It's the 3 dimension of space. and the time dimension with the dynamic part. So the corresponding principles in permaculture are designed from patterns to detail for the, let's say, the physical part, and creatively use and response to change is really the adaptation of the methodology to change which could happen during the timeline. And the last part, which is very important in a systemic approach, is that we will monitor the ecosystem. We don't come and bulverse or re-architecture everything in straight on, moving everything. We'll more like working step by step, and we'll use simulation, kind of simulation. We'll change something and see what's happening, reverse the modification, etc., and we monitor. And because the system is complex, and there is something which is called feedback loop in systemic approach, which consists in observing and checking what is the result of a modification we could make. So we use small and slow solution, and we observe and interact. Essentially, the one of important method of systemic approach is really to not trying really to understand what each element is doing, but more to see how the system behave when we modify the input by observing the output. For example, I add more manure in the field, the output will be bigger crops. And to give an idea of these flows, how to observe the flows, and that the idea is not really to understand totally the ecosystem because it's too complex, but see more how the ecosystem behave when we add an element or when we modify the flow, the input flow, to see the output flow. And this way, we will, by little step, we will start to modify, improve, and re-architecture in the best way with the maximum of positive interaction, the ecosystem. Not mainly understanding everything, but more like observing and adapting to the best solution.